We are on a journey to become a bigger team, a top team.
Have you noticed that Aston Martin is on a real roller coaster this season? One weekend they're on the podium, and the next, they can barely finish the race. This inconsistency has everyone pulling their hair out, right? From promising results to disastrous weekends, the team can't seem to maintain a steady performance. Let's dissect what's happening with Aston Martin, understand the difficulties they're facing, and what we can expect for the future. Aston Martin started the season with many highs and lows. It seems that each race brings a new surprise. One weekend, they're shining and competing for the podium, and the next, they're struggling to finish in the top 10. This inconsistent performance has left many fans and analysts puzzled. Team principal Mike Crack mentioned that the team is developing the car race by race, but the results don't always meet expectations. A clear example was the Canadian GP, where the team performed very well after a series of disappointing races. However, this inconsistency raises several questions about the effectiveness of the developments introduced. Additionally, comparisons with last season are inevitable. In 2023, Aston Martin made one of the biggest progressions on the grid, moving from a midfield team to frequently contending for podiums. This year's comparison shows a significant drop, which only increases the pressure on the team to understand and resolve these issues. One of the key questions raised this season is how Aston Martin is dealing with long-term expectations. Team principal Mike Crack made it clear that the main focus is not necessarily to replicate the significant advances made in 2023, but to build a solid foundation for the future. He emphasized that progress in a highly competitive sport like Formula One is not always linear and can be full of ups and downs. This long-term approach is crucial. Instead of focusing only on immediate results, the team is looking at the bigger picture. This means understanding that sometimes developments may not have the immediate impact expected, but they could be crucial for future success. Crack highlighted that it is essential not to jump to conclusions about updates and performances based on single race results. Furthermore, the team is investing in infrastructure and strategic partnerships, such as the collaboration with Honda for engines in 2026 and the partnership with Aramco. These investments indicate a long-term plan aimed at making Aston Martin a consistent force in Formula One. It's impossible not to compare Aston Martin's performance this season with last year. In 2023, the team made one of the biggest leaps on the grid, moving from midfield to regularly competing for podiums. Fernando Alonso, who was a key player in this success, finished last year's Canadian GP in third place in the championship, with a total of 154 points for the team. Now, 12 months later, the situation is quite different. Currently, Aston Martin has accumulated only 58 points so far, and Alonso is no longer in the same prominent position. This stark difference not only frustrates fans, but also puts immense pressure on the team to understand what has changed and how they can get back on track. Mike Crack emphasized that it's not just about looking at the current numbers, but also considering the progress of competitors. Formula One is a sport where every millisecond counts, and technological advancements by rivals can quickly change the landscape. Therefore, it is crucial for Aston Martin to keep evolving and adapting to changes on the grid. With the success of 2023, expectations for Aston Martin this season were sky high. However, as Mike Crack mentioned, growth in Formula One is not always linear. The team has faced a series of challenges that highlight the complexity of continuous development in such a competitive sport. High expectations can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, they motivate the team to keep pushing for new heights. On the other, they also increase the pressure to deliver immediate results, which can lead to hasty judgments about updates and performance. Crack emphasized that in the paddock, there is often a tendency to make quick conclusions, which doesn't help in the long run. Aston Martin is aware that to grow and compete consistently at the top, they need patience and a clear long-term vision. They are focused not only on the car's development, but also on strengthening the team as a whole. This includes improvements in infrastructure and strategic partnerships that can bring significant benefits in the future. The name Aston Martin carries enormous weight in the automotive industry, and this is no different in Formula One. With a history of prestige and innovation, the brand brings with it great expectations and, consequently, a lot of pressure. Team principal Mike Crack highlighted that these pressures are part of the package that comes with competing at such a high level. Besides the external pressure from fans and media, there is also internal pressure to justify the investments and efforts put into developing the team and the car. Last season showed that the team has the potential for great achievements, but it also set a new standard that needs to be maintained or surpassed. Crack mentioned that the closer the team gets to the leaders, the harder the challenge becomes. This is something natural in any high-level sport, but in Formula One, where margins are incredibly small, every detail counts. This means that the team needs to be constantly at the top of their game, both in technical development and race strategy. With all this in mind, it's crucial for Aston Martin to continue facing these challenges head-on, maintaining calm and focus on their long-term goals. Aston Martin is looking to the future, and part of this vision involves strategic partnerships that can further strengthen the team. One of the most significant moves was the collaboration with Honda for engines starting in 2026. This partnership promises to bring technological advancements and performance improvements that could position Aston Martin even more competitively on the grid. Additionally, the team is investing in infrastructure, which includes building new facilities and modernizing existing ones. These improvements are essential to keep the team up to speed with technological developments and ensure they have the necessary resources to compete at the highest level. Mike Crack mentioned that despite the difficulties faced, there is no reason to be negative. With partners like Honda and Aramco, the team is well positioned to continue its development and face future challenges. The strategy is clear: build a solid foundation now to reap the rewards in the future. Aston Martin's season so far has been a real roller coaster, full of highs and lows that have left many fans and analysts pulling their hair out. The team has faced significant challenges, but is also making important strategic investments to ensure a solid future. The variability in performance, internal and external pressures, and inevitable comparisons with last season are all part of the package that comes with competing at such a high level in Formula One. But if there's one thing we've learned from this analysis, it's that Aston Martin is playing the long game. With strategic partnerships like Honda and investments in infrastructure, they are positioning themselves to become a consistent force on the grid. Patience and a long-term perspective are crucial, and despite the challenges, there is a clear path to future growth and success. So, keep watching, because Aston Martin's story in Formula One is far from over. And who knows what the next chapter will bring.